This video will use a calculator to create a scatter plot, find the correlation coefficient, the regression equation, use the equation to find prediction values, residuals, and graph the residual plot. We will be using the data that we had before. We have the year since 1990 and a number of Starbucks stores worldwide. We will enter this into our calculator. So what we want to do is we want to go to Stat, press Edit or Enter, and just fill in the values in our calculators. So now that we have the values in our calculators, let's create a scatter plot. To create a scatter plot, we'll go to Second Function and Stat. If the plots are all on, or if some are on and some are off, it might be good to just turn them all off by hitting 4 and pressing Enter, and then going back to Stat Plot. Now let's select the first plot, plot number 1. Let's turn this on. Arrow down to the type. We want the scatter plot type, so if that's not already selected, you can select that by hitting Enter. Arrow down again. X list and Y list would be L1 and L2, and then the marker that we'll use will be the square because it'll be easier to see. From here, let's get out by hitting Second Function and Quit or Mode, and we're going to hit Zoom. And we can look for zoom stat, or in most of these calculators it's number 9, so if you just press number 9 we'll see the scatter plot. So that's our scatter plot. Quick summary: we enter the data into L1 and L2, clear all the plots, and we set up the scatter plot by selecting plot 1. We turn it on, select scatter plot, L1 and L2 for our list. Let's get out of there and go to Zoom and Zoom Stat. Our next step is to find the correlation coefficient and the regression equation. So let's clear this out, and let me clear the history again so you can follow the keystrokes. To find the correlation coefficient, what we want to do is we want to go to Stat, and we want to go to Tests, and I'm going to scroll up to find linreg t-test a little bit quicker than scrolling down. Let's select linreg t-test, and make sure your X list and Y list are L1 and L2. Our frequency would be 1 in this case. We will select the not equal to option. That doesn't really matter. We'll go one more down to the reg EQ. Now we should have Y1 there, and if Y1 is not there, we will want to enter Y1 there because that's going to give us an advantage in being able to store our regression equation into the Y1 slot. So to get Y1 in there, let's go to vars. Make sure your cursor is right next to this reg EQ. We'll click on vars. We'll go right arrow to Y vars. We'll select function and Y1. Now Y1 is there, we're ready. Let's hit calculate. So the arrow down here says that there's more information. Let's scroll down to see all the information. The correlation coefficient is the very last one. 0.93 is a very good correlation. I'm going to arrow up one and observe that my regression equation is in the form y is equal to a plus bx. A is given here by negative 1105.657, and B is given here as 488.112. So if we needed to write that regression equation, we would just write that in that form, negative 1105.657 plus 488 0.112 times x, the x variable. We can also click on y equals to, and we see, because we had our linreg t-test set up to store our regression equation into y1, we see that y1 is here, and our regression equation is equal to y1. Again, that'll be important for us a little bit later on. So, again, to summarize, correlation coefficient, make sure your data is in L1 and L2. Go to stat test and look for linreg t-test. Make sure all the information is stored. We'll select the not equal to. We'll put the y1 in the reg EQ by going to vars, y-vars function in y1, and then we'll go down to calculate. Our next step is to fill in the tables and find our prediction values using this equation, the regression equation. So let's go back to our list and let's go to edit. Now x1 or x and y are in L1 and L2, and I want to populate my list L3 with the predictions, the predicted values with these x values that are in L1. So I will arrow up to L3. Now, to do this quickly and efficiently, since I already have my line, my regression equation in y1, I will use y1, and y1 will take in an argument of the x values. So while I am up here in L3, I will again look for y1, so that would be vars, y-vars function, and y1. And I'll use the parentheses to denote that I will input my x values, and my x values are in L1, so I'm going to press second and the number 1, close the parentheses, and so this will give me a list of values where the x values are put into my linear equation, and then I'm going to get my y values. So if I press enter, here are my y values. So again, the prediction goes into L3. We need to do this after doing the linreg t-test to ensure that our regression equation is in y1. We want to go up to L3, make sure that the L3 is selected, and then we type y1, L1, and then enter. Okay, now that we have our predictions figured out over here, let's right arrow to L4, and I'm going to go up to L4 again, just like I did up to L3. I'll go up to L4, and then now what I want to do, the residuals is the difference between the y values minus the predicted values. So my y values are in L2, my predicted values in L3, so while I'm in L4 on my list, I'm just going to simply say L2, that's a second function L2, minus L3. So this is the difference between y and the predicted values. So I will press enter, and that will give me my residuals. So again, quick summary. To get the residuals, you want to go all the way up to L4 and then type the y values minus the predicted values, so the y values are in L2 minus L3, and then hit enter, and then that will fill in your list. Okay, the last is a residual plot, And the residual plot is really a plot where the x values are plotted along with, now instead of the y values, we're going to plot the residuals. Those are the differences between the original points and the values in the line. So this is really nothing but another scatter plot. So for this, let's clear the history and let's go back to the stat plot. And I'm going to, for some reason, I'm going to want my residual plot in plot 3. So I'm going to turn this plot 1 off. And again, by hitting 4 when you're on the screen, you turn all the plots off. So I'm just going to simply do that to turn everything off all at once. And I'm going to go back to stat plot. And I'm going to march down to 3, turn that one on. So I'll select that. And this is the on-off switch, so while my cursor is on on, I'll turn that one on. I'll move down to the scatter plot, selected. Now my X list is in L1, but remember the Y list, we're looking at the Y values that are the residuals. So let's go and select L4, so second function and 4, because remember that the residuals are in 4. Now I'm going to want this as a mark again so I can see it. And then I'll second function and quit out of here. And then I'll hit zoom and zoom stat. Oh, I forgot to take away the equation of the line. Now this line over here is something that you can just totally ignore, but if it's there and you want to get rid of it, and I forgot, let's get rid of it by going to y equals and clear that out, and then zoom and zoom stat again. So here's a residual plot. You can see it follows an interesting pattern, which probably would lead us to believe that a linear regression might be good. In this case it is good because we got a correlation coefficient of 0.93, but there might be another type of function that would work even better, and we'll see that soon. So just to summarize our last step here, when we do the residual plot, we clear all plots, we turn everything off, and then we turn plot 3 on, and then we go through the process of selecting plot 3, turning it on, selecting the scatter plot, and doing the list L1 and L2. And then we quit out of there, and maybe just to include another step here, let's go to the y equals 2 and clear y1. And so we would do this so we don't see the regression line. This, like I said, this step is not necessary. You can see, you can have the regression line there. It's not going to bother the residual plot, but if you want to just focus on the residual plot, you want to just get rid of that. And then we go to zoom and zoom stat so that we can zoom in on the statistics of the residual plots. All right, so these are the steps to create scatter plots, find the regression equation, find the predictions, the residuals, and plot the residual plot. Okay, I hope that helps.